Let me ask you guys this question. It's a personal question. How did you become a Newcastle fan? What? And I'm sure it's been a while back, and I'll tell you how I became a Newcastle fan. But this show is not just about talking news and lineups and all that stuff. I would like to know, and people to know, how Steve Wraith, first of all, became a
Yeah.
Newcastle fan.
Okay, very simple. My granddad, George Green, was a referee in what's now the Premier League, but was the first division. When he retired from being a referee and a linesman, he became a referee assessor. So he used to go to all of the games, and he used to assess the referees. He used to give them a mark out of 10 based on their performance. And basically, he was an assessor in the Northeast. Because he was living in Bolton, and that was 10 miles, less than 10 miles from Sunderland's ground, and he was a Sunderland fan, he couldn't assess the games at Sunderland. However, he could assess the referees at Newcastle, as well as the other Northeast clubs. So Middlesbrough, Darlington, Hartlepool, Newcastle were on his list, and he would be assigned a game. So for my first games as a 10-year-old, I was going to Gateshead's games in the Northern Premier League. So I was 10. That was my first experience of football. And in that season that I went to watch Gateshead 9 times, they won the league. And a certain Terry Hibbert was playing for Gateshead. Of course, Terry Hibbert was the man who created the goals for Supermac back in the 70s. So that was my first taste of football. I loved it. Then I went to Darlington. I went to Hartlepool. I went to Middlesbrough. And then I went to Newcastle. And Newcastle was the first time that I ever, well, for starters, you're in the director's box at all of these games. So I was sitting next to some very well-known faces at all of these grounds. But Newcastle, I was taken to the Newcastle United Liverpool testimonial game, the farewell game, Auf Wiedersehen Kevin Keegan's last ever game. Now, I was following Newcastle at that time, but I'd never been to a game. And that was it. I was told to wear a pair of smart trousers. I had hair back in those days. My mum made us comb my hair. I had to wear a white shirt and a jacket, and a pair of proper shoes, not trainers. And I was taken to that game, and I sat in the director's box. I met Joe Harvey, Jackie Milburn, Bobby Cowell, Stan Seymour, and I was blown away. And this was before mobile phones. It was before I'd acquired an autograph book. But I remember that day so clearly. And that was the day, of course, that Newcastle drew 2-2 with Liverpool. Kevin Keegan flew off in the helicopter. And that was my very first game as attending St. James's Park. From then, I never looked back. So that's how I became a Newcastle fan.
I thought when you said Middlesbrough, and then I thought you were going to say Sunderland. It was going to be a bad deal.
So I couldn't go to Sunderland because my granddad couldn't assess those games. So would I have ever become a Mackem? I doubt it, because just Newcastle was just.
Well, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes if you want to follow the.
Yeah. You never know. I mean, it could have worked out like that. Before Stu gives you his answer, Hartlepool Darlington was a hell of an experience, because I went to watch them play each other at Hartlepool at the Victoria ground, and at half time, the Hartlepool fans used to walk from behind their goal, walk all the way around the ground, and go to the other end. They used to swap ends at half time, like the team, which was absolutely mental. And they had a big rivalry, like Newcastle and Sunderland still do, but obviously they're in completely different divisions. And there was a pitch invasion at one point and a huge fight on the pitch. So I'd seen football hooliganism. And all I remember is an old guy, and English viewers will appreciate this, like Uncle Albert from Only Fools and Horses, the sitcom, running onto the pitch, trying to smack the referee, being pulled off by his son. Absolutely mental. But good days. And for me personally, to go to watch Kevin Keegan, in his last game, that really was always going to be Newcastle for me after that.
Stu, how'd you become a Newcastle fan?
You don't have much choice if you're growing up in the region.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit disappointed in you, Chris, actually, because you said that you've done all this research on Newcastle. And had you done your proper research, you would have read Steve's book and you wouldn't have to ask him that question.
Well, I know,
According
but I want you to say.
to
I just don't, actually, I had a fan that follows NUFC Matters that said, "Wow, I didn't know that about Steve." See, there you go. We're,
there
fans are
you
getting
go.
to know.
Right. Well, for those who do watch NUFC Matters, they know I was born in Edinburgh and all the family is Scottish. My father supports Hearts, and it's a team in Edinburgh, Heart of Midlothian, but I was educated in Newcastle, and you've got no choice. When you say you've got no choice, it's infectious. Everyone is so passionate about it, and it's not following the crowd. It just encompasses the whole area, and even in primary school, you get people. I was at the game with my dad, and I wanted to go. So I was 9 years old when I first got taken to St James's. By this time, I'd been to a lot of Hearts games, but I went into St James's. My very first game as they beat Manchester City 5-0, 5-0. And how can you? I mean, there's a lifetime of rejection and disappointment after that. Yeah. But that's your first game, and the three people that Steve had on the stage last night all played in that game, and I think they scored all 5 goals if memory serves us right as well. So that's 40 years ago. I was not introduced into Newcastle, but actually going to the game, and then every week I want to go again. Well, every home game I want to go again. I want to go again, to the point where the Heat, who Steve knows very well, his dad would go to the Newcastle games if Hearts weren't playing at home, and you get to the stage where you're able to go by yourself, and it's your choice. And I started following home and away for a long, long time until work took me abroad. Yeah. So it's never boring supporting Newcastle. That's the thing. Yeah. And I know we joked about it on, I think it was last Sunday's on the professional show with Steve and Mitch, where we thought, what we're going to do for 2 weeks, there's no games, nothing to talk about, and then there's huge transfer or lack of transfer activity, and there's always something to talk about. It's like a soap opera, but it's never boring, and the highs far outweigh the lows. Even in defeat, there's times that we've been traveling, especially away games, and the camaraderie you've had, the experience that you've had. Sometimes the game just becomes irrelevant. It bonds people, and even like when I go out walking a lot, as some people might say on Twitter, I like to share photos just to get them jealous. I'll only do it when it's snowing or rainy or windy back in Newcastle. So I'll post these pictures of like calm seas and things like that. But even then, I'm walking and you'll see people just shout "tune," but if I've got a Newcastle top on, it's something that you're always proud of. Even in the dark days, me and Mitch were both living in Dubai, and there was really nothing to be excited about going to watch Newcastle. And Steve was going to the games, and it was seen as a chore. It's like it's a sense of duty. You had to go to the game because you lived in the area. Where now it's the scramble for tickets, as we mentioned just before there. It's like a lottery ticket. It's like a winning lottery ticket, being able to get one if you haven't got a season ticket. But myself and Mitch would be midnight on Tuesday. I'll be in Dubai, and we're meeting up. The game kicks off at 12:15 a.m. Dubai time, away at Aston Villa, and we'll both be watching it. Both be shouting ourselves hoarse. The advantage I've got is I'd get a flight back the next day, and Mitch has to go to work. So it's something where what we do is replicated in outposts all over the world. It doesn't make Mitch or myself special because we support Newcastle for a lifetime and we live abroad. There's tens of thousands of Newcastle fans that live abroad that'll do the same thing and make the same sacrifices, but it's not a sacrifice. It's a pleasure to say I support Newcastle United, even when we were rubbish and a laughing stock. And the normal stock answer would be when you say, who do you support? And as soon as you said Newcastle, you'd get the apologetic, oh, sorry about that. And what are you sorry for? Who do you support? Then again, your back comes up and you fight your corner and you defend the team. Even when you know it's a losing battle, you still defend them. And that's something to do with the people of the area as well. And that goes back to the Fans Advisory Board. It all rolls into one.